Your reasons for listening to the show, well, those are your own. But just keep in mind that the views, information, or opinions expressed on the Tuddle Daily Podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of our sponsors. Yeah, it's called free speech, people. Nobody's forcing you to listen. One-of-a-kind shades made to order by VaporShades.com. Vapor Shades designs the outer layer of the sunglasses just like a wrap on a car. They customize your sunglasses, marbling the paint. The end result is no two pair of sunglasses are alike. Yours will be completely unique to you. Check us out at VaporShades.com. Use promo code Tuddle for 15% off your entire order. Get ready for your daily dose of Tuddle.
The all-time greatest intern/producer we've ever had, of course, Tuddle. Tuddle in Florida.
From the Vapor Shades Hobo Fish Camp, it's the Tuddle Daily Podcast.
Anarchy! Anarchy! Anarchy!
No wonder nobody likes you, Tuddle. Everything's a goddamn debate.
Welcome to another edition of the Tuddle Daily Podcast. Hope you guys had a great weekend. I know Tampa Bay is celebrating. Coming up on today's show, I'm going to be talking to my cousin, who is a lifelong Bucs fan. His name is Billy. He's a part of the podcasting network WeDoPodcast.com. Going to have him on because, like I said, lifelong Bucs fan. He waited a really long time for that first Super Bowl win, supporting the Bucs through all those winless seasons, just not making the playoffs. But the reason why I think this one's going to be a little bit more special is because he got to share it with his son. None of his kids were born when the Buccaneers won their last Super Bowl, I think back in 2002. So I got that coming up. Don't forget, tonight's live stream will be at 7 p.m., and I'm going to start having guests on my live stream. Tonight, I'm going to have Ciroc. I'm going to try to get a whole bunch of different people that I've worked with through the years, like maybe a Daniel Dennis, a Tom Van. Who knows? I'm going to try to get a bunch of those people out there. I tell you, somebody that I've actually been talking to is Buckethead. I know he's not going by Buckethead anymore, but Jason Bailey, host of the morning show. I think it's Bailey and Southside up in Atlanta at Rock 100.5. I'm going to try to get him on the podcast, but if he can't do the podcast, I would love to have him on the stream. He just built a great studio up there at his house. I don't know if it's like a lot of the other radio stations where they are not even allowing anybody into the building. I know at Sirius Satellite Radio, I don't even know if the people at Sirius will even go back to work when it comes to that. It might just be board ops that are coming into the studio. Check out my website, Tuddle.net. That's Tuddle with two Ds, TUDDLE.net. There's a couple of ways you can get a hold of me. You can email me, Tuddle@gmail.com. And like I've been mentioning over and over again, you can leave me a voicemail, 407-270-3044. Once again, that is 407-270-3044.
Hey, Tuddle, man. You can't throw a little skit on there and then pause every 2 seconds. I don't even know what you're talking about now.
See, this is a prime example of the type of voicemails that I'm wanting to get from you guys. I've had a lot of people, and most radio hosts or podcast hosts would get upset when people want to call in or leave a voicemail and critique me. No, I actually like it. And this happens, I've noticed this a lot when it comes to radio people. You pick up habits from other broadcasters that you work with. And that's one of the things that people have been complaining about, that I start and stop the audio too much. And I get it, but I also know that that is the same exact thing that people would bitch at Bubba about. Now, I'm not saying that it's wrong. I actually think that it's kind of great. I mean, you're not there to listen to the audio. Now, there is a happy balance that you can have, but I do agree with you, sir. I agree. I do interrupt too much. I got a voicemail a couple of weeks ago. Somebody said that I interrupt the guests too much, and I've been trying to do a better job at that. My producer, Vulture, He's been telling me about it, and I'd like to hear from you guys because this is your show just as much as it is mine. So any critiques like that, please let me know because I want to make the listening experience the best that I can for you.
You're commenting on it way too much, brother.
No, dude, listen, I agree with you. I do interrupt way too much when it comes to the guests and the audio that I play.
Take it easy. Play your little video, and then make comments. All right? Thanks.
Sir, thank you. I appreciate the feedback. I really, really do. But easier said than done. Somebody like myself that deals with ADHD, OCDs, yeah, I lose my train of thought all the time. It also doesn't help that I smoke marijuana every once in a while. So, yeah, I get it. I really do appreciate it. I'm not being sarcastic or anything. I'm not trying to make some backhanded comments. I really, really appreciate the feedback.
Hey, Tuddle, what's up? I've been listening to a few of your podcasts, and I was curious about one thing.
See, I'm already doing it again. I am. I'm already interrupting a piece of audio, but I just want to let you know this is a different voicemail. Probably should have put a little stinger in there or something to kind of separate it so you knew that this was a new voicemail, but it is. It is a new voicemail.
The guy who does your sexy voice announcements, he sounds like Matt Mazur or Matt Sewer or whatever that guy's name is.
You are talking about Josh Kale up in Canada. I met him because he is a Tom and Dan listener. He's actually on their show sometimes, I think. Matter of fact, I will be on Tom and Dan this Wednesday for my monthly visit. I always have a great time with those guys, but I think you might be talking about Matt Major. Speaking of Matt Major, I'm actually going to be on his show this week. He's actually starting back up his podcast, which is great. It really is. I think it's probably because of the pandemic right now, and like me, that you want to just make sure you're doing something with your idle time. And I'm going to be on his show this week. I will, once I know the exact day and time, I will let you guys know. But yeah, Josh Kale up in Canada, great guy. I mean, the guy needs to be heard everywhere. I'm not saying he's as good as like a Dan Stone, but I got to tell you, the guy is good at what he does, and he makes my show sound legitimate. If it wasn't for Josh Kale, if it wasn't for Vulture, my sponsors, yeah, my show would just sound like any average, ordinary podcast out there.
Is that Matt Mazur in disguise? Because it sure sounds a lot like him. But anyway, it'd be interesting to see, since you do a lot of rants on your podcast every time you have one, you should have like a little Tuddle's daily rant, you know, either before, at the beginning of the show or at the end of the show, you know, like a daily.
So yeah, I've actually thought about this before. I've always wondered, do I want to give an opening monologue? I know one of the greatest things that I remember back in the day when I first started at Real Radio 104.1, I would do middays, and when I was driving home, I would get to listen to the beginning of the Phillips File, hosted by Jim Phillips. And I would always be in awe of some of the opening monologues he would do. And I always wanted to do those. A lot of the radio guys try to do them, but they just fall flat. They really do. And say what you want, even though Jerry Springer used to be trash TV, I absolutely loved Springer's Final Thought. It was great. It was just a great way to wrap up the show. And I agree with you, sir. I really like the recommendation. And I'm going to start doing that. I'm not going to push a monologue and be outraged about something that I'm not really outraged about. But if I see something that I could sink my teeth into, yeah, I'm definitely going to do an opening monologue.
So that way you have a section devoted to it, kind of like what other shows do. And also, I was curious, would you ever have Drew Garabo on your podcast?
Yes. I couldn't get that yes out fast enough. Yeah, I would love to talk to Drew Garabo. If I'm just being honest, I feel bad that I underappreciated me being able to work with Drew Garabo on two separate occasions with two different Drews. Seriously, I think a lot of people would, and I even think Drew would admit this, the first time I worked with him, yeah, I don't think he was in the best spot. He was dealing with a lot of stuff going on with this kid. Xander, I'm not even going to get into that. Drew's talked about it a lot. So if you listen to the Drew show, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But to work with Drew at 1025 The Bone, that was nice, Drew. It was. And I've talked about this. If you can't make it with Drew Garabo that was over at Cox Media Group, then you're never, ever going to be able to work with Drew Garabo. Because that Drew Garabo is night and day from the Drew Garabo that worked at Real Radio. And I'm not saying the Drew Garabo that worked at Real Radio was an asshole or anything, because he wasn't. I was young. I didn't know how to deal with big personalities like that. I made a lot of mistakes, and that's one of the reasons that it didn't work out there. And it wasn't that me and Drew didn't get along the last time I worked there. It was just that I did something dumb as shit, and it got myself fired. And a lot of people are, well, Drew didn't stick up for it. You know what? Drew shouldn't have stuck up for me, because what I did was absolutely horrible. So, yes, I would love to be able to interview Drew Garabo. If I'm just being honest, because there's so many things I want to apologize for, so many things I want to talk to him about. Now, looking back on it, that I'm older. Yes. Like, we both made mistakes. Me more than anybody. But what I'm trying to say is that, yeah, I mean, Drew is one of the most brilliant radio guys that I've ever worked with in my career.
And would you call him on the air just to see, like Bubba used to do, just to see if you can get a hold of him? It's kind of like a last-minute thing.
Look, if I talked to Drew Garabo, it would not be combative. It would actually be a legitimate interview. I would love to talk about his radio career. I would love to interview him about his time with Ed Till, his time working with Jim Phillips. Yeah, I would be extremely honored to be able to have Drew Garabo on my podcast all day, and every day. And I know a lot of the Bubba Army are going to get pissed off when I say that, but listen, I don't want enemies with anybody in radio anymore, because having enemies has gotten me into the position that I am in at the moment. Gonna take a quick break. When I come back, I'm going to be talking to my cousin Billy, who is the biggest Buccaneers fan that I know. And we're going to review the game. We're going to talk about the commercials and what is next for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You are listening to the Tuddle Daily Podcast.
He's a nerd,
I've only been arrested one time.
a radio personality,
Professionally, I'm not in the best position that I've ever been in.
and hot talk satirizer.
You would think with everything that's going on, a Caucasian like myself wouldn't be able to randomly talk to an African American or a minority.
You're listening to the Tuddle Daily Podcast. Wish you could have just flown and had your vehicle arrive a day or two later so you can enjoy more time doing what's important to you? Well, you can. Just give Starfire Transport a call. Let the professionals do the driving while you're flying. Starfire Transport specializes in RV and auto transport. They'll also haul watercraft from boats to PWCs, cargo trailers, and more. Service available throughout the continental United States. So don't wait. Call Brian today at 574-349-4193 or 989-751-6106 for your next move. 10% off for veterans past or present. Also, make sure to tell them Tuddle sent you for an additional discount. That's Starfire Transport. Do you have something you want to say?
Hey, what kind of preacher is you?
Leave Tuddle a voicemail.
Cause you're kind of ignorant.
Especially if you think he's being an asshole.
No mega bitch.
Will your hurtful comments offend Tuddle?
No, baby.
Call the show at 407-270-3044.
No, baby.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Tuddle Daily Podcast. Earlier in the first segment, I mentioned that I wanted to have my cousin on because he is, I know everybody says their friends, their family, or they may be the biggest Bucs fan, but this is the God honest truth. My cousin Billy is one of the biggest Bucs fans. I remember growing up, everybody used to clown him wearing the creamsicle jerseys or shirts. I don't even know if he had jerseys. It was probably like some knockoff you got from the store back in the day. But on the line with me right now is my cousin Billy. Check out his website, wedopodcast.com. I got that right, correct? I mean, I'm remembering that off the top of my head. What up?
What's going on? Yeah, you got it right. wedopodcast.com.
All right, so I got to ask you, all right, so you won, well, you didn't, but your team won their first Super Bowl, 2002, correct?
2002 against the Oakland Raiders. Yep.
Yeah, that wasn't even a close game either, though. And last night, man, geez, and we'll get into that. But one thing I remember after the Bucs winning their first Super Bowl, you did and this was back in the day before we could do all, specialized voicemails and stuff. And you probably were using a tape recorder in the background to do your voicemail. Every time you called, it was like a 30-second promo about the Bucs winning the Super Bowl. Do you plan on doing that this year?
Well, to be honest, I've already started a not so obvious assault on all my friends. Today, my status update was my team greater than your team.
I mean, that's what it's all about as a sports fan, though, right? I know that a lot of people, they probably like, oh man, it's annoying, but they would be doing the same exact thing if their team just won their championship in their sport.
Yep, exactly. I'm doing nothing more than what everybody else would be doing right now.
All right, so my first question is, how does this one compare to the first one? Because now you have a son that's in the age that knows what's going on, roots for the team and stuff. Which one is sweeter for you?
Oh, yeah, by far the one that I got to share with my son. He's 14, and, he thinks it's pretty easy now. You start liking a team, and they go to the Super Bowl. He has no idea what I've been through. He
didn't have to put in the work or the hardship that you had to, but you got to let him know. See, because I got kind of spoiled there being a Gators fan with dad, them winning 2 national championships in 3 years, plus on top of that, winning back-to-back basketball national championships at the same time. So, yeah, I got a little bit spoiled. I really, really did.
Yeah. And, being able to experience that with him last night, he was so naive. He was like, oh, we're going to do it. And I just kept sitting there. I'm like, no, not yet. We can't get excited yet.
It's the Bucs.
We still need a few more touchdowns. It's not over yet.
So, all right. What was the spread like for your meal during? Did you and the wife do it up big for the Bucs being in the Super Bowl? Or
I tell you, I took Cooper to Publix that morning, and I said, pick out whatever snacks you want. And then his only request was Pizza Hut pizza, because we had been seeing leading up into the 9 hours of coverage, so many Pizza Hut commercials that's what he wanted. So they did their job. They got a sale out of us for sure.
What did, before we get into the game, what did you think of the commercials? It just seems like, because all the big names you usually see during the Super Bowl were not there.
Yeah. We had a running total, like every time we'd see one, we're like, is this better than this? Is this better than this? And I think the obvious choice for me was the M&M's commercial in the very beginning, where they were repaying people with M&M's. Here, I'm sorry I called you this, or whatever,
What about all right, so let me ask you about this. I'm not saying Will Ferrell is not funny anymore, but he's become a kind of a caricature of himself. And it's just like, I'm like, oh man, what are you doing, Will? But you know what? It happens to every Saturday Night Live cast member. It happens.
Yeah. I guess you want to call him jumping the shark, right?
Well, but I mean, listen, I who am I to judge about comedy? I mean, a lot of people think I'm unfunny, so I mean, who knows? But all right, so let's get into the game, okay?
Okay.
Now, the Chiefs were the Bucs the underdog going into this game?
Yeah, they were favored. Chiefs were favored by 3, which
that's nothing.
But as we were watching the game on CBS, everybody, all the pundits, only person who picked the Bucs was Bill Cowher, who's friends with Bruce Arians. They coached together in Pittsburgh. Everybody else had the Bucs losing.
Wow. Now, did the Bucs? Because I think the Chiefs. My producer Vulture told me the Chiefs were actually the home team. Did the Bucs actually have to go to the visiting locker room, or
no,
do you
they
know
were
that?
in their own locker room.
Okay,
yeah.
I was about to say, no, you can't do that. I just that would be like total disrespect. Now let's get into the game, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So it starts off like any Super Bowl game. There's a little bit of nerves there, okay? And everybody's like, oh well, Brady's been there. Well, I mean, look at Brady, that Atlanta Super Bowl where they were playing the Falcons. Brady just stunk it up in the first half. I mean, pretty much the whole team did. But it's a big game, man. It's all riding. It's all on the line. So I mean, people, do you think that they're playing conservative in the beginning?
I think they were feeling each other out. Both teams seemed to struggle offensively first couple of series. You were talking about how big it is. Tom actually sent his wife and kids out of the country for 12 days leading up to the game.
Why? He didn't want any distractions?
No distractions. Yep. He wanted to be able to focus completely and get the game plan set for this game.
I don't know if we talked about this last time, but I think Brady did like curse out one of his teammates because he was crying after they won the NFC, and he was like, "We haven't effing completed S." And you know what though? All right. So the big question is Tom Brady now the GOAT? Like,
oh, by far. I mean, they were saying that with 7 rings. It's going to be very difficult for someone like Mahomes to actually catch him.
Not with the way the competition is right now. It's a special mixture, and I don't want a lot of people. Oh well, it was all Brady. No, was the perfect mixture up in New England. Everybody bought into the system, but I mean, I don't see how Tom. I know Tom says he wants to play one more year, but man, go out on top, man. Isn't this like the biggest like walk-off? Like you left your team, you went to another conference, you went to a team that hadn't made the playoffs in over a decade, correct?
Yeah, that's true. But he is under contract. He is coming back. And okay, think about this because Cooper and I were actually talking about this. If he does come back and he is successful to repeat, the last team to repeat was the New England Patriots back in 2003, 2004. If he's able to repeat, he'll have eight rings.
Double the next person, Montana, correct?
Yeah, he's got more Super Bowl rings than any franchise in the NFL. Think about that.
That is ridiculous, man. Like, you want me to be honest? I'm a lifelong Dolphins fan, and I hated him. I hated him because he was in our same division. But now looking back on it, I mean, how do you not like Tom Brady though? Yeah. I mean, he was the average guy. We talked about this. The picture, his draft picture. Yeah. I mean, that is the everyday sports fan. Like he looked like a fan and not a player in that picture.
Yeah, if your listeners can Google that picture, the funny thing is, leading up to the game, Ryan Jensen, who's his center, his armed man, he came into the line. He had a suit jacket on and a T-shirt, and underneath that T-shirt was Tom Brady's draft photo of him in his shorts only.
I mean, you know what though? That has got to give you that little bit of edge though. It's like, you know what? That was me. Nobody gave me a chance. Yeah. I was nothing but Drew Bledsoe's backup quarterback for so long. And a lot of people forget Drew Bledsoe was a stud at the time. Like,
back in the day.
Yeah. Drew Bledsoe was like one of the best quarterbacks in the AFC East there. Yep. And it's just one little like injury, and then Brady comes in and takes it over. But I mean, that could have easily happened to him as well too. Remember when Brady got hurt? I think it was Garofalo. Came in and it was like, all right. See, that's why none of these players want to miss a game.
Yeah,
because you just do not know, man. You really, and that's the same thing when it comes to broadcasting. Like, that's why people do not like to miss days, because you're like, all right, next man up. This guy may come in and kill it, and you're going to be out of a job.
Yeah.
So let's get to the game. What were some of the keys? Now, Gronk was the MVP, right? Or was it Brady?
No, Tom got the MVP. He actually got his pickup truck.
Now, let me ask you, is that because it's Tom Brady? Because Gronk really stepped up, though.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't know, man. I think sometimes they just give it to the big name.
Well, and it's funny is that these, as much as we want to say about these folks that jumped on board later in the season, meaning Gronk and Antonio Brown and Leonard Fournette, playoff Lenny. Fournette
was running with a purpose last night, though. Like, I saw him, and I always love it when an offensive player like just lowers his head, and offensive players can get targeting, right? Or no?
Oh, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely.
Because what I'm saying, I saw Fournette drop his head and just like put it underneath somebody's chin strap, and he just stared him down after it, and I was like, man, Fournette is running with a purpose tonight.
Yeah, and those three that came on a little bit later, they definitely had a lot to do with the Bucs winning this one for sure. The three of those guys.
Now, I felt really bad because I'm a Gators fan, but man, the Chiefs punter had kind of that first half was kind of bad. Tommy Townsend with the long hair, like he dropped that first one, but he boomed it, okay, but then he got a clean catch and then he shanked it, and I think that gave the Patriots really great field position there towards. I think that was in the second quarter.
Yep.
And I think that
several scores his mess ups did for sure.
Now, I hate to say pitted away. You never want to say a play pitted away in the first half, but them scoring that late touchdown in the second quarter, I think kind of was a little demoralizing.
Yeah, and one of the plays that I came away with and I was super happy with was Antoine Winfield Jr. and the taunting foul.
What was that? What the throwing up the peace sign? Or something. Can you give me a little backstory about that? What did that happen in the first game that they played this season or something?
Yeah, in week 12, the Bucs were playing the Chiefs at home. They had lost 2 in a row, and this was the last game before bye. So, needless to say, the team was tired. The defensive coordinator decided to play Tyreek 1-on-1 with Carlton Davis, and he torched us for 200 yards in the first quarter. And on one of his 2 touchdowns, as he was running by Winfield, he gave him the peace sign, which apparently, what I'm told, is that's Tyreek's hand sign. That's he's the cheetah, and so that's like his little mark. So
isn't he supposed to be the fastest person in the NFL too?
Yeah, and I was hoping at halftime, Scotty Miller, our fastest player, was going to have his way, because during the week leading up to the Super Bowl, Scotty challenged Tyreek to a 40-yard dash.
That is the thing that I love now, is that everybody takes pride on being the fastest man in the NFL.
Yeah.
Now, those NFL combines, they do that, and back in the day, they didn't really have, really, really accurate. It was actually somebody with a stopwatch back in the day.
Yeah.
Now it's all computerized. I still think Dion, though. Might still be the fastest.
Yeah. Well, anyway, at that, Winfield broke up a pass on 4th down. I saw a really good meme of just going off a little bit of a tangent, but a really good meme of Jack Sparrow running from the Villagers, and they said that was how Mahomes was doing with the Bucs, because he was running around in circles. But anyway, on that 4th down play, Winfield stopped him, got in his face, and gave him the deuces sign, and that got him a 15-yard penalty. But you know what? Nobody bothered that, because that was awesome. The
but
other
didn't
one,
Brady Jaws with somebody too?
yeah, with Tyrann Mathieu, he got a very critical penalty called against him that cost them a touchdown, and he got
the uncatchable pass that everybody was talking about?
Yeah. And Tom, he got in Tom's face, and so that next touchdown that Brown scored on a sweet move on him, Tom got in his face, in his grill. So they were the bullies. The Bucs were the bullies of the game for sure.
I know people don't like bullies, but I mean, sometimes you got to do that. I saw somebody, that's why I like social media, is just hearing reading some of the comments, and somebody's like, man, y'all have done pissed this old man off.
Yeah.
He's like, he is not playing this. It was just, it was great, but what was the guy that Brady was jawing with?
The Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah, and everybody loved the Honey Badger. Honey Badger this, Honey Badger that. And you usually don't see Brady do that. I mean, he gets fired up. You want to know? It's funny. Speaking of the Bucs, the way that Sapp and Favre used to jaw at each other. I mean, that everybody loved that. I'm right by saying that, right? Like Sapp and Favre used to talk mad trash to each other.
Yeah, they did not like each other at all. And it even went back. I don't know if you remember. There was an interception that happened, and Sapp leveled this guy named Clifton, an offensive lineman. He leveled him out and actually ended his season. And so ever since that happened, Favre and Sapp have been bitter enemies.
Speaking of offensive line, a lot of people are saying the key to why the offensive line just was not doing their job last night.
Yeah, the Chiefs actually had lost 2 offensive linemen, so they, instead of just plug and play, they moved people around. So they actually affected 3 of the 5 line spots. And that gave the Bucs the ability to only rush 4 and drop people back in the secondary. And so they really had no chance at all. I mean,
do you think they smell blood? Like they're like, all right, these guys are playing out of position. Or you got some new guys. We're like, all right, we're going all in on this. Now, one of the things that I wanted to talk about. So now the Bucs. All right. So now Disney World. Do you know if they're good? I know they're not doing the parade, okay, because of the pandemic and stuff. I think Gronk and Brady are going to be the 2 that are going to be there.
Yeah. They're not going though. I think they're just virtually going. If I read that right today.
Now, does Gronk destroy this Lombardi trophy like he did that one that the Patriots had that one time? I don't even know. But that is so Gronk, though. And you know what? I don't understand how anybody could even be mad. You want me to be honest? I think that actually adds value to the trophy because you can see that dent. And I wouldn't even fix it. I would leave that dent in the Lombardi trophy. It'd be like, yep, that's Gronk.
Well, and word from Tampa is that Gronk is going to take a couple weeks to decide if he wants to come back next year.
I think he does because you if I'm just being honest, as much of a physical specimen as Gronk is, you remember he was fighting all those infections and stuff for the longest time, and it just seemed like he was a lot more focused this year. Maybe not his best season, but he kind of took care of himself.
Yeah, he definitely not having a preseason, not having training camp affected a lot of the players. And
do you think they're going to get rid of that? I mean, now that they've proven that they can have a great season without all that preseason stuff, and they're wanting to add another game too, correct?
I think that's the way it's that's the balance that the Players Association had, as they said that they'll limit it to 2 preseason games and add 1 regular season game.
I mean, it's great. I mean, even in a pandemic year, NFL still is the top dog, right? I mean, gotta be.
Yeah, and I'm gonna switch topics just a little bit, and I'm gonna blow your mind.
I would love it. I want to hear.
You ready for this? The 2020 Buccaneers team is actually better than the 2002 Bucs team.
Explain.
Okay, I got you. You ready for this?
Yes, I gotta hear this.
When you told me that we were going to be on today, I wanted to have something to kind of throw at you, and so Let's go back in the time machine to 2002.
Yeah.
The Bucs played then quarterback Jeff Garcia with the San Francisco and beat them. Then they traveled up to play Donovan McNabb and the Philadelphia Eagles.
But the Eagles were a thorn in their side. Didn't they make the NFC Championship a couple of years in a row? And I think Philadelphia.
They were good, but they weren't like what we had to do this year. So I'm going to follow it now. We're going to end the trifecta with Rich Gannon, last year's MVP in 2002. So that's the quarterbacks that they beat, the teams they beat. They beat the Niners, they beat the Eagles, and then they beat the Raiders. Now let's go to this year. We're going to throw away the Washington game because that quarterback, I don't even remember the guy, Henke, something like that anyway.
Yeah, because, yeah.
So let's throw that one aside. But we're going to go, we went to New Orleans and beat Drew Brees.
Yeah.
We went to Green Bay and beat Rodgers. Then we came home and played the next GOAT in the returning Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs and beat them too. So mathematically speaking, you've got to give it to this year's the present day Bucs. We're obviously a better team.
Okay, all right. I'll stop you. All right. This is how I see it, okay? Was this year's team's defense better than the 2002 Bucs? No way. No way. No way at all. Now, offensively, I say the only position better on offense would have to. Well, I mean, there's a couple of them, but I mean, Mike Allstott was a game changer on that 2002 team.
Right. Well,
you know how the Bucs got stopped at that goal? That does not happen if Mike Allstott is on that team.
Well, if you follow, I found out this is kind of a neat thing. Vita Vea has a nickname that Ndamukong Suh gave him, and he's known as Big Girl.
Okay.
So
why? I gotta hear this.
Well, he's got long hair, and he just, that's just his nickname. I'm just guessing it's the hair.
Okay.
But,
if you're a coach, I gotta hear it.
You follow Big Girl in because he was the lead blocker on that fourth down play. He took 3 people out. Just get on his behind. He
picked the wrong hole.
Exactly. He picked the wrong hole. Yep.
But I could have sworn that ball, the tip of it made it across the white line.
I don't think he was able to reach the ball. I think his body was, but he had it tucked. If he would have actually reached the ball out, I think he would have gotten it in.
All right. So your Bucs win. I know. Yes. Okay. So I know it's day after, but you already as a fan, sports fans are greedy as hell.
Yep.
And they want more.
Let's run it back.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm saying is, who are free agents? Any big names free agents
from the Bucs?
Yeah.
Oh, lots. We've got Levante David. We've got Chris Godwin. We got Ndamukong Suh. We've got Shaq Barrett. We've got Rob Gronkowski. So that's just to name a few, and Leonard Fournette.
Okay.
So that's a lot of people.
Yeah, but I mean, okay. Now, when you got a leader like Tom Brady, a lot of people want to say, well, a lot of the Patriots teams, a lot of players would take less money to come and play there or stick around to get the salary cap down. A lot of people thought that was Al Belichick, but it could it have been Brady? Could it have been people want to play with Tom Brady and they're willing to take a little bit less money for the glory?
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for. I mean, the big problem is that the salary cap is going to be about $20 to $30 million lower than it was last year.
All right.
So it's going to make it even more difficult.
Tough. Well, it's a salary cap lower because of the attendance not being this year.
Exactly.
I mean, okay, so, what do you think about them? And this will be my last question because I don't want to go real long. What do you think about them adding crowd noise? I mean, is it weird or like I don't know, because I was watching CBS Sunday Morning. I know that makes me sound really, really old, but I watch CBS Sunday Morning. I love it. I love it because they do the weirdest like segments of stuff. And they were interviewing the guy that is control of all the crowd noises. And
okay,
he has like this little digital pad, and it's like, when a guy's dropping back, you start out the crowd. It's like crowd growing, and then the pass, and then they got a button he hits, like if it's a catch or if he drops it. What do you think? Should they just let it go all natural, or do you like the added effect?
For me at home, I think it's fine. I mean, it doesn't, because I'm sure that if I was to pay attention to the stands and seeing nobody in there, it would definitely feel kind of weird. I know that I've heard some reporters that have been at games where there's been nobody and there's no crowd noise. You can
hear everything, but I would like to hear. You want me to be honest? I mean, you get yourself a minute delay.
Yeah.
So like if anybody curses, but you just you mic it up as much as you can. Now this leads me to my. I know I've already said last question.
That's
what
okay.
do you think of that effect? I think they were overusing it last night with the video. Like that's effect where it focuses in on like what you're shooting and then it blurs the whole background. Like a lot of the iPhone. You didn't notice that last night with some of the video?
I did, and I'm gonna man, you keep asking me these great questions because I know the answers to them. That's a camera that they're using experimentally in the playoffs, and it's an 8K camera. So it gives the effect of playing Madden because it's so clear.
It looked like Madden. It's exactly what it looked like, but I mean, the technology is still not there because I was noticing like when it was a group of players, like the players on the outside were a little blurred on what they were focusing. But I mean, I liked it, but I really did think they were kind of overusing it a little bit last night.
And that crowd noise, it actually comes from Madden.
Oh, it does. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's crowd noise because when I play Madden a lot, and when I'm on, that's the exact crowd noise that they did. That's how they learned when to do it, when not to do it, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, cool. Billy, I appreciate you. I know it was last minute, but I wanted to talk Super Bowl, and who else better than a diehard Bucs fan, somebody that got to experience it with their son for the first time. I thought that was really, really great. Check out Billy's podcast network, WeDoPodcast.com. Anything to note that people should check out on your website right now?
No, we've got our latest episode up. It is an interview with an attorney from bike law, which will help, and it's an advocate for all us cyclists out there. So that's kind of cool.
I gotta ask you this, okay? I traveled down this road going to Orlando, Maytown Road. I don't know if you know exactly what road that is, okay? Because they got they're building an awesome bike trail out there, okay?
Yep.
But the true cyclists, the bigwigs, they will do the road. Now I hear a lot of motorists that are always like, what do they there's a bike trail right there. Why are they on the main road? And that's not the best road because there's really not much of a shoulder. It's only a 2-lane road. Mm-hmm. I know that bicyclists and stuff have the right of way when it comes to stuff like that, but I don't think people realize how dangerous Central Florida is when it comes to bicyclists. Like,
oh yeah, it's terrible.
It is really, really bad. What do you say to those people that are like, oh man, why are you in my way? This is for the big ass trucks coming on by with the 40-inch super swampers lifted tire. Well, I will say this. I remember you having a vehicle one time where you had the tire sticking out past the what is that about? I mean, it's a cool look, but I mean
I was young and stupid
and you had the sound system that like I know. Yeah. I remember the first vehicle. Vehicle is a very old and southern thing to say. I'll just say car. You had a Samurai Suzuki at one time, didn't you? That was the joint right there. Like, oh man, everybody back in the day that had a Suzuki Samurai, everybody loved that one.
Yeah, I even had a custom speaker box in the back so I could.
What were you bumping, like 20s?
Yeah,
10?
10s,
oh, you were
man.
going 10s.
Yeah.
What kind of amp? Did you have an amp on it too?
Oh yeah, I had a Sony amp on it. Yep, I would rock the Paula Abdul because of all the bass that she had in it.
All right, Billy. Well, I really appreciate you taking the chance or the time to talk to me, man.
Yeah.
WeDoPodcast.com. Congratulations on your team winning their second championship. Hell, I mean, the third might be next year. Who knows?
Let's just run it back, Tuddle. Let's run it back.
Are you worried about bandwagon fans, though?
I don't care. There's a special spot on the pirate ship for the bandwagons. They can be the ones that are rolling underneath, and we're going to be up on top on the deck.
Why no pirate ship last night?
Oh, because it was a neutral site. If you notice at the end of the game, they were able to use it, but they didn't want to give them the home field advantage or anything. So
come on, man. Like that is I mean, that's why people like baseball so much. Every stadium is unique. It has its own little quirks and everything. And that's the one thing that the Bucs have. They got, like Green Bay, they got the Lambeau Leap. That would be like if Green Bay hosted the Super Bowl and they're like, oh, no, no Lambeau Leap during the game.
Yeah, and did you see all those cutouts of people?
Yes, I did. Did you have one? Or I could see you doing something like that.
Yeah, I wanted to. It was $100 to get yourself cut out, and then you were given an opportunity to win tickets for next year's Super Bowl in Los Angeles.
You didn't go to this one. You didn't go to San Diego.
No. My wife was pregnant during San Diego.
Yeah, that would have been a good choice on your part. That would have been bad. So, all right, I could keep talking forever. WeDoPodcast.com. Billy, I hope you have a great day. Enjoy the championship that your team won.
Yay. Thanks, Tuddle.
From the Vapor Shades Hobo Fish Camp.
Man, maybe I would have way more sex partners in my life if I just threw caution to the wind.
It's the Tuddle Daily Podcast. Tuddle's Daily Podcast is brought to you by StitchYouUp.com. For your embroidery, screen printing, vinyl, and direct-to-garment printing needs, visit StitchYouUp.com. Stitch You Up specializes in custom caps, shirts, decals, and anything you want to personalize. Whether it's one item or large orders, they can handle any size. Unsure about what you want? Let Stitch You Up help you with your logo design. Visit StitchYouUp.com or contact them, Eric at StitchYouUp.com. Stitch You Up. Definitely not your grandma's embroidery. Nerd. Radio personality and hot talk satirizer. You're listening to the Tuddle Podcast.
Welcome back, guys. Last segment of the show. So yesterday for the Super Bowl, we've been talking Super Bowl today. I went over to my producer's house, Vulture, and I got to tell you, oh my God, the spread that his wife, that Mrs. Vulture made, I've never been to a Super Bowl party that had the variety and quality of food that I got at there. Man, I mean, 2 different types of chicken wings. You were getting the flats as well as the drums. So you got 2 different types of those. Popcorn shrimp. Some of the best homemade guacamole that I've ever had in my life. And I got to get the recipe for it. My mom absolutely loved it. Pigs in a blanket. I mean, it was so good. It was amazing. And right before the game, I ended up playing, what was it? Clash of Clans or Battle Royale, whatever it is, on the smartphone with them. So it was me, Vulture, and his kids, and we were playing that. Went outside, hung out there a little bit. Vulture actually gave me a mini sword, which I thought was really, really cool. And it was just a great time, and it's great. I got to tell you, out of all the stuff that this podcast has brought to me, I got to tell you, the friendship that I've made with Vulture has been absolutely amazing. And I can't thank him enough for inviting me over, trusting me around his family, especially with maybe the past that I've had. He knows I'm a different person. He treats me like I'm a regular guy, and I appreciate him a lot. So, all right, guys, that was kind of like my Jerry Springer final thought there. But I had a great time. Thank you, Vulture. Thank you for all that you do for this show. I'm sure all of the supporters out there of the Tuddle Daily Podcast appreciate it. Hope you guys are having a great day. Hope you enjoyed today's show, and I will talk to you tomorrow.
And that's the show for today. Thanks for listening to the Tuddle Daily Podcast. Hey, don't be a dickhead. Do us a favor. Like, share, and subscribe to the show. Also, check out the Tuddle category at 315live.com. The Tuddle Daily Podcast is brought to you by the Vapor Shades Hobo Fish Camp. You want some cool-ass sunglasses? Check out vaporshades.com. Also brought to you by Starfire Transport, StitchYouUp.com, PocketPairClub.com. Special thanks to show intern Hannah and Charlie Alamo for their contributions. Additional imaging and production is provided by CCA Productions. Facebook.com/CCA Productions Presents. Show voiceover service is brought to you by JCVoiceover.com. That guy's got a damn sexy voice. You should hire him. Check out JCVoiceover.com. If you want to help support the show, go to paypal.me/TuddleOnTheRadio. Comments? Concerns? Or do you just want to let Tuddle know he's being a dickhead? Tuddle@gmail.com. That's Tuddle with 2 Ds at gmail.com. Leave a voicemail at 407-270-3044. To follow all of Tuddle's social media, go to Tuddle.net. Thanks again for all your support, and we'll see you tomorrow on the Tuddle Daily Podcast.
Hey, yo, Terry, what going on?